Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got some done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe, right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was gonna say I am getting up there and they I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
So this is a story that I never really talked about. How did I get such amazing tenants? And this is something that, you know, is not really talked about. We always talk about how horrible a tenant is because those videos do a lot better. Let's be real. But how did we get good tenants? You know, tenants who leave you alone, don't necessarily bother you. Tenants who don't break everything in your home and allow you to really just go about your life in peace. Tenants who maybe have everything together and just want to have flexibility and want to move whenever it is that they want to move. And so before I get into my own tenants, I wanted to talk about my cousins who also have tenants that live in their basement, and those tenants had just sold their home and they were looking for a new home to buy. And so they were renting, living in the basement of my cousin's home. Those tenants paid their bills on time. They understand what it is to own a home, and they understand what it is to be a landlord. And so they are studious in how they come across. They have their money set aside for the home that they want, and then they're also paying rent, offsetting their mortgage while looking for a home of their own. That is super, super important. Finding people who are responsible, people who don't want to ding their credit, people with something to lose at the end of the day, and those are the best tenants to have. Now, how did I find my amazing tenants? So a lot of you should know by now that when I bought my first property, I didn't even live in it for 30 days. I immediately rented it out and I went into the Army. Now, I didn't rent out this property myself, but what I did was I looked for a property manager and I hired them. I interviewed 2 property managers because at the end of the day, I don't work for them, they work for me. And so when I interviewed these 2 property managers, I decided that I would go with one who I actually had to interview over FaceTime. So what did I do? I left the keys in the mailbox. I told them, hey, the keys are in the mailbox. Go ahead and rent this property out. Get everything situated. That was that. Now, I had some assistance if I needed it because my uncle, I had 2 uncles that lived in Ohio. But thankfully, I'd had a great interview process and the property manager worked out. He took the first month's rent and ever since then was paying me. Now, I didn't necessarily get my money right away the first time around. I had to contact them and I had to ask them, hey, where is my income? Where is my money? And within about an hour or 2, that money was in my account. And since then, there was absolutely no problems. When I got back to Columbus, Ohio, I obviously could not move back into my property as I had a tenant living there. This was scary for the tenant as well because she felt like, hey, maybe I would have to move. And she was a single mother of 2 children still in school. She is a trucker. And she also, basically I just kind of said it all. Trucker, two kids, and you know, she was like, hey, are you trying to move in? And I was like, no, I'll find something, I'll figure it out. And so when I decided to let go of the property manager, she didn't know that she was to pay me. She was kind of even scared. She was like, oh, what will happen if I pay the property manager instead of the actual landlord? Like, you know, so that in itself was a situation that she wasn't prepared for. And so dealing with that, understanding that, yes, you will be able to stay in the home. Yes, I am who I say I am. That was a process in and of itself. Now, if I had to, I could have showed her legal documentation showing that I owned a home, showing that I have proof of this, maybe even taking her to court so that she understands. And she could have also said, hey, you're going to have to take me to court so that I understand who it is that I'm actually supposed to pay. That would have been fine also. But and then of course I would have dropped the charges, but you never know who you're dealing with. So if you're a tenant and you want to take that route when dealing with a private landlord, by all means do it. But I think everything worked itself out. I don't know what her conversation was with the property manager, but once I fired the property manager, everything was good to go. And the reason I fired the property manager is because he did not want to raise rents on the tenant. This is a video for another day, but I might as well talk about it on this one. So I'm going to give you guys a juicy bonus. Why did I fire my property manager? Well, I asked the property manager, I said, hey, property taxes are going up. I need you to raise the rents. I'm going to just ask for like $25, maybe $30. Just raise the rents up $25 so that I can offset some of this cost. And he said, you have a paying tenant. I kind of don't want to disturb this tenant by asking for an increase. And if you have to look for a new tenant because this tenant decides to move out, you're going to have to pay me a finder's fee and a whole month's rent. So you're going to miss out on all of that money. And that was somewhat of an intimidation tactic. But to me, I looked at it as, listen, if I am not making no money because my property manager is going to eat all of it, I'm just going to get rid of the property manager, and after intimidation, I'm going to be all right. Right? So once I got rid of the property manager, I think I was making like $1,200 a month off of my tenant at the time, not knowing, or was it $1,215 a month at the time, not knowing that she was already paying the property manager an additional $30 a month in property management fees that wasn't on the agreement that we had. So that was a side agreement that this property manager has probably made with every tenant that he manages. An additional $30 or $35 for the property manager. Now, I understand that you have costs. I understand that you have things that you're supposed to do. If you had simply said, hey, I'm going to charge additional fees for certain services and certain types of protection outside of this lease agreement that we have. If you're okay with this lease agreement that we have between me and you as the landlord, that's fine. But I was unaware of any side agreements that you're making with my tenant. That's crazy. So now that's when integrity and honor come into question. The property manager was good at everything that they did, but it came down to a fact where there was some lies being told. Like, now I know why you didn't want to raise rents. Now I know why you didn't want to, increase the price that was being paid. I didn't have to raise rents once I realized that the tenant was already paying the increase. Right? So that was something in itself. Like, this is what I mean by a juicy story. And so once I fired the property manager, I was like, hey, we can keep the rents the same. And I did that for another 2 years. And now we're finally just about to increase rents this year because property taxes went up again. It's not that I want to make more money. It's like, yo, property taxes is just getting out of control. And so, you have to account for that. But that tenant wasn't found by me, right? It was found by my property manager who I vetted. And I did a decent job, but not a great job, right? Because if I did a great job, I would have known everything that was going on behind the scenes. But again, you hire the property manager so that you don't know. You don't speak to the tenants. You don't have to get involved. You don't have to do all those things. And so when I had to actually go ahead and do those things, that was like, oh my goodness, now I see what's actually going on. My tenant doesn't know that I didn't know that she had a property management fee this whole time. But, it is what it is. And how did I find tenants to house hack in this home? So this home, by all accounts, is probably about 40 to 60% more than the property that I had bought previously that is now rented out fully. But I do like the other property that I rented out more in one way, and I like this one in another way. So the property that I rented out fully is in a worser neighborhood. It's a C-class neighborhood, but it's a 2-story property, and it is completely remodeled. It's completely rehabbed. So everything looks brand new. Everything is so beautiful. I mean, if you bring anyone to that home, they're going to drop their jaws. Just stunning. It's the best house on the block. And I mean, in a C-class neighborhood, that's not really saying much, but it's still a beautiful home. It goes up in value tremendously. It's probably one of the richer homes in the neighborhood. And, you know, my tenant absolutely loves it. And that's why she's continued to, you know, re-sign her lease. Now, when it comes to this home, it was a lot older. It's one of the cheaper homes on the block. And that's saying something in a B-class neighborhood. So with it being one of the cheaper homes on the block, it wasn't 2-story like most of my neighbors. Most of my neighbors' houses are 2-story houses. And so when they sell their houses for far more money than what mine is selling for, but my property still gets a little increase every single year because these other houses around it are just so much more expensive. And, you know, as I put some upgrades in the home, as I do more for the home, it becomes cute. Right? So it becomes the cute home on the block, a house that's been kept up, a house that's been made to look nice. I've redone the backyard, I've upgraded the electrical. Eventually I'll redo the front yard, probably do a basement remodel. And so it's going to be like, oh, okay, this is not bad at all. In fact, it's worth it, right? It's going to be worth it. And so that's where you want it to be. And, you know, obviously I'm not seeking a higher appraisal because that's only going to raise my property taxes. But it was very easy to find tenants in a B-class neighborhood. I had people coming to me with money in hand for a room, okay? And this is the house hacking strategy where you rent by the room. So when I first got this property back in October of 2021, people were rushing, I mean absolutely rushing to rent this by the room. So they would come in with cash in hand. They were telling me they were ready to sign today. They didn't want to wait. They did not want to, you know, allow anyone else to get into this property. And so I would have to tell people, no, there's a lease. You have to sign that first before you can do anything else. And so, you know, there were people who may not have had documentation. There were people who maybe wanted their brothers to also live here. I've had people who had their wife or their significant other also want to move in. So many different things transpiring. But then you just, you look for, I would say, maybe working class people who are, you know, just about their business and looking to do whatever it is that they do specifically. But one thing that I've been caught by surprise with a few times are those who, I don't know, look the part but aren't the part. And that might be someone showing up in a car that's rented out but has a suit and tie on, owns their own business, this and that. All those things can be smoke and mirrors. And so I think the best thing that you can always do is check pay stubs, check tax returns if it's around tax season and things like that. And that will give you an idea of, okay, what is actually coming in, what is consistent with this potential tenant. And, you know, that gives you an idea of if you can actually trust that this person is capable of paying on time and doing what they're supposed to do as an individual. So when learning from that mistake, not only is doing a background check important, but because I was always doing that, but what is more important than that is ensuring that they actually have the money to pay on time and that they're not just looking for a home for the day or the month, right? And so I was able to find those who were looking for a better situation. Everybody's always looking for a better situation when they're looking to move, but how much of a better situation are you looking for? Are you moving just because you have to move, or are you moving because you want to in order to better your life, in order to better your situation, in order to get ahead? And if it's for the secondary reason, those people are much more focused. Those people are much more in tune with what it is that they're looking to do and what it is that they're looking to be. So with that being said, a good tenant is someone who is basically able to not only be honest with you, upfront with you, but is consistent in their approach, consistent in everything that it is that they do. And, with that open dialogue, that open discussion, that open paperwork proving to me who you are and what you are and that you are what you say you are, it just allows for such a much easier transition. I had a tenant who said, hey, I'm only here for a little bit. I'm working. I'm willing to pay the deposit. I'm willing to pay this and that. Hey, my son might be coming from Texas once in a while. I'm good. I might be here for 5 months. I might be here for 7 months, but you will always be paid on time. I was okay with that. That was honest. That was upfront. That was straight. That was a contract signed and agreed upon, and we was good to go. And so those are the type of tenants that I look for. Those are the type of tenants that I really appreciate. Just open, honest dialogue. And never really talk about finding amazing tenants, but those type of tenants are super, super great, super, super amazing. And I've had 2 long-term tenants now for at least, I would say, 2.5 years at the very least. So again, very much appreciative of that. Now, if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You know I post every single day at 8 a.m. daily on YouTube and on Rumble. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.